It's beer o'clock on Real Ale Craft Beer, and I'm really, really excited to get into this beer and show you this beer. I've not had it before. It's the last beer that landed on the Morrison's supermarket shelves. I've had it about 2-3 weeks, finally getting round to it now, but I've been, every time I've got my beer in the conservatory at the moment, and every time I walk past to put some recycling out past the back door or whatever else I do out the back door, I see this beer and I go, ooh, why haven't I reviewed that yet? We got to it. It's the Buxton Brewery Costa Rican Coffee Extra Porter, coming in at 7.4% ABV in a 440 milliliter can. Without further ado, I think this is the coffee company on the side. Look, Has Been Coffee is a Finca Licho brand of coffee bean. Without further ado, let's get this beer out into a glass and see what we get. This was £3.50 in my local Morrison's. The last one. It was, incidentally, I was going to sneeze. Incidentally, it was the last beer to get onto the shelves in Morrison's. It was like there was a delay of about 2 or 3 weeks of this hitting my local Morrison's, but when I seen it I was like, oh yes, that's got to go in the trolley. Look at that beer. Look at that beer. 2-finger tan coloured head, jet black beer in the glass. Look at the carbonation in the beer. Look how jet black this beer is. There's a little bit of light bleeding through at the bottom of the glass, but I'm gonna say with my own eyes it's jet black. Absolute jet black. What a lovely looking beer. Look at the head retention. That head does not want to go anywhere. That is what I would call, I know it's 7.4% ABV, and you purists out there will say, nope, you can't call it an Imperial Stout if it's not 8% ABV. But I'm going to call this a Scandinavian style Imperial Stout. Just by that tan coloured head, just by looking how thick the beer looks. It's looking like it's going to have a really thick, bold body on it. And of course that colour, that jet black beer in the glass. Let's get the aroma. Oh my goodness me. Vanilla, chocolate, cocoa, caramel. Of course coffee. Coffee in abundance. It smells smooth. Now don't get me mixed up with all those kind of Tetley's extra flows, super smooth, super chilled nitro beers. Don't mix me up with that. Or the John Smith's extra smooth. This beer smells smooth because I'm probably getting the aroma of some oats in the beer. And whenever you add oats to a beer, you're generally naturally kind of building body in a beer and building smoothness in a beer in a very natural way. The word smooth now with beer is a bit of a swear word, but I want to try and change the mindset. I want to start using the word smooth again, and when I use the word smooth in future, I want you to reference in your mind oats. I want you to think that I'm thinking about oats in the beer rather than being blasted with nitrogen. Let's dive in. Cheers. Oh, and widgets on the bottom of cans. No. That is, it's like nectar. That is like nectar. rich, smooth, velvety. Loads of coffee comes through. Loads of rich coffee flavours comes through on this beer. Oh my goodness me. Bitter. Loads of rich, raw bitterness coming through on the back of the palate. And that's a combination of two things. That's a combination, well, maybe even three things actually. That's a combination of the roasted malt. That's a combination of the roasted coffee. And what was the third thing? That was the combination. And the third thing is the addition of hops in the beer. That was it. Yeah, that important thing, hops. So malt, coffee and hops have combined to add a fantastic bitterness to this beer. Really rich, really bold, fantastic creamy mouthfeel. I'm going to talk about oats one more time. If there's no oats in this beer, I will be massively surprised. Massively surprised. I am almost sure, 95% sure there's oats in this beer. But stone the crows. Stone the crows. What a beer to pick up in your local Morrison's for £3.50. This is absolutely incredible. Oh. Look at the lacing on the glass. Look at that lacing. Look as I roll the beer around in the glass. You can see that carbonation and that head. Look at the carbonation chasing the head of the glass. Absolutely phenomenal. Maybe a touch of lactose. I'm getting a certain lactosey kind of milky sweetness in there, so there might be a little bit of lactose in there, but I'll eat my hat. If there's no oats in this beer, I'll eat my hat. It's probably a combination of the two. Now, the coffee addition in the beer is just fantastic. There's some, I'm sure there's a little bit of vanilla as well. It's almost like it's been barrel aged, it's been oak aged. Terrific bitterness coming through on the coffee and terrific coffee flavour. But I want to talk about the malts. The reason why, I mean, you might be new to beer. If you're not new to beer at this stage, if you've been, you know, if you've been watching the channel for years, you probably know what I'm going to say next. But if you are new to beer and you've picked this beer up and you're very intrigued about this beer and you've decided to see if there's a review on YouTube about it, the reason why it's jet black like this is that they've used roasted malts in the beer. So they've roasted the malts as they would normally do. Very similar process to how they roast coffee. A coffee bean is green until you roast it. And of course, if you roast a chip, if you roast a golden chip, if you roast it long enough, it would go black, wouldn't it? So same with coffee. If you roast a coffee bean long enough, it's going to go black. Same with malt. Malt is a light golden coloured ingredient that goes into beer. Makes wort. If you roast the malt before you turn the beer into wort, or use the malt to make the beer into wort, you will get black malt. It will kind of almost incinerate. And that's when you get your chocolate, your coffee, your caramel flavours coming from the beer. Your rich, dark, bitter flavours from the beer. And that's why the beer has a creamy, rich, oaty, lactosey like mouthfeel. Because if you think of, if you went to a coffee shop and you asked for a latte, a strong latte, and you had that lovely coffee flavour, but the mouthfeel was there as well. If you think about sweet caramel, it's sticky and gloopy. Same mouthfeel as this beer. And of course, chocolate, thick, gloopy, kind of bitter, dark chocolate. It's going to have that bitterness, it's going to have that creamy mouthfeel as well. So it's the reason why brewers who know what they're doing, Buxton do, they're a great brewery. It's the reason why they add lots of body to their beer. It's lovely. Right, Costa Rican coffee extra porter. A rich smooth porter brewed with cacao nibs, vanilla beans and Costa Rican Villa Sachi coffee. Roasted as has been with help from Buxton Brewery. So not Finca Licho, but more like Villa Sachi coffee. There we go. Oh, does it have oats? Does it have oats? Let's have a look. Water, barley, oats, wheat, hops and yeast. Oh yeah, we got it right yet again. Okay, so there is oats in the beer. You can see the oats there in the beer. Right. Fabulous, fabulous stuff. I highly recommend this beer from Morrison's. £3.50 a can. If you like your dark beers, if you like the Big G in the supermarkets, picking up 4 cans of Big G from Ireland, then I'm sure you'll like this beer. I'm pretty sure you'll like this beer. It's everything that the Big G is, but with an awful lot more flavour and an awful lot more mouthfeel and creaminess. And never mind the horses running next to the sea. Remember that old Big G advert? Never mind this. If they were to make an advert about this beer, it would be a man swimming in tar. Or pouring old engine oil all over himself. Rating, love this, absolutely love this. Buxton Brewery, Costa Rican coffee extra porter. Lovely stuff. Rating, I like it enough to give it a Stone the Crows 9 out of 10. Fantastic fantastic value for money, 9 out of 10. Please put your comments in the comments box, subscribe to our daily beer and food reviews, give us a big fat thumbs up. Boom! Cheers!